All right. Hey, everybody. I know we may have some folks that are going to sprinkle in here at the start. We got about 3 minutes before we get rolling. I'll let some folks come in. Looks like we've already got about a dozen or so that are in. Abbie, I'll ask you to kind of keep an eye out for us for any Q&A. You don't have to talk right now. I know you're in the middle of a sip. But we'll go ahead and get started at the top of the hour. So welcome. Hang tight, everybody. We'll be there shortly. I am going to mute my mic here real quick in case I say something I don't want anyone to hear. And I'll be back in about 2 minutes. Hey, everybody, looks like we've got about 18 folks in here right now. Hopefully we'll get them more. I think we were a little over 100. Last time I looked, we had 103 register. But I know how things are going. A lot of folks just want to get the recording on the back end, but we may have some others that kind of chime in here before we're done. We'll go ahead and give everyone a couple of minutes and get launched maybe 1 or 2 minutes after the hour. As December rolls, I know it's hard to get anything planned and organized with the chaos of catering in December. So we'll give everybody another minute and I'll be right back. Thanks. All right, we'll go ahead and get going. I know some folks are going to be arriving, but we'll let them catch up on their own. It looks like we got about 20 here right now. 22, I think, is what I see. I know we had last I looked, we had 103 register, so we'll probably have some folks that will sprinkle in here as we go. But welcome to our NCC year-end webinar. We appreciate you joining us. Hopefully you are feeling well. I keep hearing that COVID and the flu and all kinds of nasty stuff is going on around out there. So hopefully your family has been spared, but that always happens after Thanksgiving for whatever reason it seems like. But welcome to our call. We're very excited to share this one with you. If this is your first time with us, my name is Byron Duncan. I'm the CEO and owner of New Catering Connections. The company is better known as the NCC Group, but we call ourselves New Catering Connections for our partners out there. Please meet the team that's going to be joining us on the call today. Danielle Guzzetta, the CEO and owner of RevGen Marketing. We have our guest for the month is Mr. Bart Hastert with Schlotzsky. He's a 3-unit franchisee in the Kansas City market and the number one franchisee in catering for that brand for as long as we can remember, as we were trying to go through that earlier today. But so somebody we wanted to have join us today and help share his story about what they do. And then obviously Miss Abbie from New Catering Connections will be here as well, kind of helping us to maintain the noise and traffic and communication in the background. So Abbie, I'll let you real quick. What should they do if they have a question or want to say something?
Yeah, the Q&A section is at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, drop them in there. If it's relevant to what we're speaking on at that moment, I will bring it up at that time. If not, I'll make sure that we get to those questions by the end and answer everything for you.
Danielle, anything as we kick off here that you want to say?
Nope. It's just excited to be here. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. We've completed the customer journey, and now we're on to bigger and better. So hopefully everyone will close out their year strong.
What I wanted to do with December, and Danielle and I talked about it, we were like, should we start something new or should we just try to find a way to wrap everything up? We've got a really great agenda set up for 2026 starting January that we're going to touch on. We're going to introduce everyone to today. And it's a rethinking a little bit of catering strategy over the course of the calendar year. So hopefully you'll find some exciting information there. But what we decided on is finding a way to end the year with a way to one, evaluate how you did, and maybe some tips to help you better tell your story. So depending on what your role is, whether you are a head of sales for a restaurant organization, whether you're a franchisee, whether you're a general manager, whether you're a brand leader, hopefully there's some information there to help you position your performance a certain way to help tell your story. Because we know, you know as well as I do, it's not just about numbers on a page. There's something behind it, and so how you share those numbers sometimes can be very important in how we approach this. We also want to touch on end of year client communication. Some of the most important messages you'll send out year long are going to take place those last 10 to 12 days of the year. How you interact with your clients, your current clients, and what kind of message that you should send out, we're going to cover, because I think there's a way for us to approach this that can be very beneficial for you as you head into 26. And then we're going to introduce the catering wave to everyone. I've talked about this probably off and on for a couple of years, but now AI has caught up to where it better tells my story that I want to tell regarding the catering wave. So we're excited to share that. So we're going to hopefully a lot of topics to cover. We're going to record this and send it out, obviously, as always. So please share this with your friends, your peers, those in the industry that you hopefully like versus not like, and send our information with them so they can hear it as well. The more the merrier. We want to keep doing these complimentary free webinars every month. And we really like the ability to bring different guests on board. We're excited. We're going to have Monkey joining us as our vendor of the month in January. So that's pretty exciting. And then we've got some other things planned, obviously, coming up for the remainder of the year. But what I wanted to do first, before we kind of dig into those three pieces there, want to share a little bit of information, a little fun stuff, I guess, at the bottom, and then we'll come back to Bart. Some of this is Abbie's idea that we created in our newsletter that we want to kind of expand here. So we've got some fun things here, hopefully for you. We've got a Christmas side dish cookbook that we've added. So we've got just some ideas if you want to, some recipes that you want to try over the holidays. They all have a weird little space theme for whatever reason, because that kind of connects with what we do. We've also, I like it better when it goes back to the point where I left it. All right. And then we've got a catering carol songbook. So if you were looking for some holiday catering songs to sing, if you're going to go out caroling, we've got Jingle Cells and Deck the Trays and Silent Bite and We Wish You a Merry Closing and Oh Christmas Tray. And then you'll click on them. There's whole lyrics. We got a whole song here for you. So if you want to go out and carol with catering songs, we have that available as well. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you from a fun perspective is the 12 days of an NCC Catering Christmas. We actually have a nice little rotating tree here that you can spin when you go to our site. And you can click on all of the different packages that are on the tree to see the different gifts. So for example, on day one, you have a catering menu worth sharing. So and then you click on each of the different packages and there's different. So there's 7 days of preparation, so we're playing the whole 12 days of Christmas. So hopefully you'll find some fun there as well, but there's different gifts on the tree. This is now saved and available on the cateringspace.com website, which is what we're displaying this webinar from as well. So if you want to go to the cateringspace.com website, you'll be able to see all of this information that we've pulled aside for you. And hopefully it's just a little bit more fun for you to have for you and your team to share. And so if you have any questions about future webinars, this webinar, the catering calendar that we're going to show you a little bit later, if you want to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, we don't do them really by the month anymore. We do them by event. So we did a Halloween one. We did a Thanksgiving one. The next one's going to be a Christmas themed one. But if you would like to be a part of it, you can email Ms. Abbie at abbie@theNCCgroup.com, and she will add you to the list. So that way you can get the newsletter each and every month. And then she will always kind of keep you abreast of what we're doing with certain webinars and stuff. So wanted to share that with you real quick. And then we wanted to get to meet Mr. Bart here. So Bart, please say hi, tell us a little bit of bio about you, and then we'll kind of get into some of the information here. But we'd love to hear your story about how you cater at Schlotzsky.
Thank you, Byron. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on this. I'm fortunate. I'm an NCC customer. And I'm also fortunate enough that Byron and Tracy, they allow me to speak to a lot of new NCC customers that want to talk to current customers. So I talk to a lot of people, and I love catering. I love every aspect of catering. I like when I wake up in the morning, I start thinking about catering. When I come to work in the morning, I'm thinking about catering. I'm always about how can I improve? How can I be better at my job? How can I be better for my employees? How can I be better for my customers? How can I communicate better? But I get to talk to a lot of potential customers with NCC. And they're always like, oh, thank you for your time. Like, you're kidding me. Talking about catering, what better thing to talk about than catering? My wife gets so tired of me because I go off on tangents. I'm at dinner. I make myself available 24/7 to all my customers, which is kind of crazy, but we're on hikes. I don't care where we're at. I want to talk about catering. But the one thing I always find out, and on this webinar, there's tons of people that are amazing. I was looking at Danielle's bio, and she's amazing. I mean, people from one level to the next level. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you have contact with the customer, there's nothing better than to have a positive connection with somebody to make their life better, to make their event better, to make their life better. But when I talk to the potential customers, I can always tell, am I talking to somebody that's really working with customers, or is it somebody that's, we got to do this stuff and we're trying to get a catering program. When you talk to somebody that's in catering, you can go off. I don't care if I'm at Schlotzsky's and somebody else is at a steak place in Florida. You get excited. What do you do? How do you do it? And you just go back and forth. And no matter how great you are catering or how new you are to catering, you can pick up so many tips and so much energy from people that are in catering. And that's what I live for, because the better I do my job, the better other people do their job. And, we're all competitors, but some of my favorite places to go, I go to Panera's, I go to Jimmy John's, I go to Jason's Deli, Potbelly. I know the guys around my stores because I want to know what they're doing. I want to see what they're doing. And so probably, going back, I've been doing this for 27 years, not this kind of catering. We have elevated the catering to levels that is just crazy for the amount of staff we do and the amount of sales we do. We're doing 20 to 25% catering with a $40,000 week of total sales. So it's a lot of catering. Some days I'm doing 8 to 10 caterings just from one store. And we do a lot of easy cater and a lot of first party. But, so starting off 27 years ago, I was new to it, didn't know what I was doing. Started off with schools and, a few businesses close by, the bank, some good customers at different businesses. And that just kind of kept going along for a number of years, and then got better. And then, Earl Dardick, when his Monkey Media, because we used to do just manual invoices. When Monkey Media came out, that took us to a new level. We were legit. It's like, oh my God, look at this stuff. And then we started doing a little reward cards. We didn't have any automated reward system, but we do in the little cards. Come in and you get a free sandwich. So we did that, just kept building and kept building and kept learning. I was always, and I'm very energetic, but early years, I was just so fast, take an order, new customer. Okay, what can I get you? It's Bart from Schlotzsky. Boom, boom, boom. What I've learned over the years is, one, I have to be the expert at my food. And I love Schlotzsky's food. We do great catering. We have food set up to be catered, but I need to know everything about my food. Temperature wise, do you want a chilled sandwich, a toasted sandwich, breakfast? What time do you start? What time do you need to leave? How do you package it? How far can you go? So you have to be the expert. So when a customer calls you, and I've learned this over the years, I've gotten so good at slowing down, finding out what the customer wants. On the little bio that you did at NCC that Abbie put out, was one of my favorite customer experiences was a woman who called and she said, hey, I want to buy a bunch of small originals. It's our classic sandwich. Lettuce, tomato, onions, olives, ham, salami. It's a great sandwich, Italian sandwich. She said, I want to get like 25 sandwiches, originals. I'm like, okay, great. Instead of just taking the order, I'm like, well, what's the event for? And what do when do you want it? She goes, well, we're a celebration of life. I'm like, really? Who? Well, it turned out to be, it was a guy that came in a lot with his wife. And I knew the guy, didn't know him really well, but it was important that he wanted his family to sit down and have Schlotzsky's in their backyard one last time. It was awesome. I was like, oh my God, it just humbled me to think that they're choosing Schlotzsky's for this guy's celebration of life. And that it hit me. It's like, this is how important our job is. Everything has to matter with the customer. And I was able to be there with her and talk to her. And I took the delivery myself. I participated in it. And, she's become a great, great customer. And she just came in the store the other day and I didn't recognize her. She took my picture with her. But what I've learned is to slow down, be an expert at what I can do, know what your competitors do, because I know everyone around. I know what their prices are. I know how they serve their food, the sandwiches that I like trying their food. I like being able to compare, a sandwich at Jason's to my sandwich. Because then if a customer says, well, we usually use Jason's, I'm like, no, they're good. And Potbelly's good. And there's so many good restaurants. I don't dog any customers, any competitors. What I don't like to do, what I like to see is when somebody doesn't do a good job at a Panera and they hurry through it. They're giant, they don't, the scraps would make us a ton of money. So what I look for is the opportunities. And every time somebody calls me, every time somebody reaches out to me, says, hey, I got an opportunity, I'm in. But first thing, I want to know who you are, what you need, and how I can help you. Because the more they get to know me, the more I get to know them, you're creating that bond that they're not gonna go somewhere else. They're going to give you that opportunity. So I'm an expert at my food. I really know what I can do for the customer. I know the customer. I know my competitors. I know my pricing. It just gets better and better. And what I've really started doing this last 2 years, and I've been with NCC almost for 3 years, that was one of the best decisions I made. And I'm not trying to tout how great they are, but they are, because I do my job great, but I can't go out. Back in the day, you could take out menus and some cookies and go to the bank or go to a school. Hey, we do catering. Oh, hey, great. We'll call you Saturday. All right. That was the extent of it. But nowadays, you got the giants out there that know what they're doing. And you can't, if you want a catering program, if you want to be successful, you got to have people in the right places, but you got to know what you can't do. And I can't do what the people at NCC do. And I've got a great person, Kat, at NCC. She knows my menu as well as I know my menu. She can do what she does well, but then I'm ready to take over for when she gets people that want to do Schlotzsky's. Boom, I'm on it. 30 seconds. She'll send me a text or an email and I respond within a couple of minutes. But what I've really gotten good at doing as our sales have grown, catering has grown, my excitement has grown, my confidence has grown. We can do anything. But what I've really narrowed it down to and got really good at is talking to the customer. I text every customer, or my general managers do, every customer that does a catering with us, no matter how big, no how small. First of all, we text them when we get the order. Thank you for the order. And this is Easy Cater or First Party. We get the order, we thank them. The day of the order, we also follow up, say, hey, my driver's going to be leaving in 10 minutes. He'll be there between 11:15 and 11:30. If you have anything, please call me. When the order's over, the afternoon, send them a follow-up text. Thank you very much. We also have Schlotzsky's and Cinnabon at all our stores. So I will send a 2-pack of classic Cinnabons with every order, no matter how big, no matter how small. Sometimes I'll do a 15-pack of the smaller ones. And I just say, hey, as an extra thank you, appreciate everything. This is on me. You can either give it to the people or you can take it home to your kids. But that has made such a huge impact because it creates that relationship. And once you create that, as we all know, you want to do business with your friends, with people that know, that care about you, and they care about you. And it's not in a phony way. You really do care about them. We're in this job. Of course, we have to make money, but I want to make people happy. I want to create something that somebody else can't create. I want to make somebody happy. When you're on the front line of the customer situation and the engagement, and you see somebody happy, that makes my day. And also, if I see somebody that's not happy with something we did, because you can be on a huge high and you're jamming and you think, my God, I am the king of catering, which I think I am. And then you screw up something silly. You left something in the cooler, some fruit, brings you back to earth. But that's when it really hits the road. You've got to respond as great as you are when you do it. When you mess up, you have to be equally as great. So it's customer relation.
And Bart, the thing I want everybody to hear is your passion, your enthusiasm, your love of it. And so what I would want everyone to take away from this is if it's about how much you want to invest in it. And he's fully invested. If you couldn't tell in that last bit, he's very, very invested in what he does. So thanks, Bart. We're going to go through our different parts of the webinar.
I got more, Brian. I got more. Hold on a second. No, I don't.
All right, thank you. Well, only because we only have so much time, but I love the passion and the stories behind it. Because if you want to know what it's going to take to make you successful, success comes from your ability to connect. And Bart has that ability to connect not only at the customer level, but with his team, with his vendors, with people. And that's such a big thing here. So what we want to do first is we want to get into the end of the year client communication. And so this is something that I know when Danny and I first were talking about how we want to do this, we're pretty excited about the idea of being able to kind of share what we believe our passion points in this space are. So we have a quote here from Teddy Roosevelt that says, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." And so that ability to connect for that end of the year messaging, when it's the time when people tend to reflect and they tend to look back on what's going on in their lives, and they tend to take a little time with their loved ones at that, to be able to have the right message go out and it not be pitchy and it not be selling or heavily promoting what you do, but just some genuine thank yous. How that message goes out is going to vary based on where you are in the relationship. But every communication that you send out will have a benefit for your restaurant. It's going to have a benefit specifically for your catering program because these are who you're reaching out to. But it's also going to help build the brand perception. And sometimes an automated one paragraph, non-personal email just isn't the right tone. And I get I'm sure like you, I get a bunch of those over the course of the year where I get a generic warm wishes type email. But if it sounds automated, if it sounds AI written, if it sounds non-personal, I tend to not invest back into that message as much. But if I get a personal one that really communicates how someone feels about me and our relationship, even a professional relationship, but if there's a point made or some sort of a positive comment, I really do take that to heart, and it does make a big impact on me and how I approach it. And what we wanted to do is clear up with you some things that we think are very important. So the end of the year isn't just a goodbye, it's your chance to cement relationships that fuel next year's success. So where you are in the relationship with each and every customer should help you to determine what type of message to send out. So we go everywhere from transactional relationships, meaning it's a brand new client. They've done a transaction or two with you, but you don't know them much beyond that. Then we move into familiar face, which is that second or third opportunity that you've interacted with someone, and you can start to build the rapport in that relationship. And then you get into building rapport. After you get into the second, third relationship, you're starting to see frequency. You're starting to see more of a long-term relationship. So that relationship with them is growing. Then you have a genuine connection. And then you even progress all the way to a true partnership. And every step in there is going to give you, and on the site, you'll be able to see what the messaging approach should be, what the characteristics of that relationship are, so you know what is the right message to communicate. So I'm going to hand this off to Danielle here because we've got two different paths here. The one on the further on the left side and the one further on the right side. So Danielle, I'll let you kind of take it a little bit from here.
Sure. Well, Byron, you hit it on the nail on the head when you said most important communication happens in the month of December. And that is so true. All year long, we're dogging for sales, we're closing, we're doing all this great stuff. But December is really your opportunity to thank your clients. Really do not focus on selling. It's selling. The money's going to come. We've got a lot of holidays at the end of the year, but open with gratitude. Make sure you're genuinely thanking your customer, thanking for trusting them. They, like Bart said, they have a lot of choices out there. And if they're choosing you, you've done something right. Thank them for their partnership. Tell them you love being part of their celebrations, their meetings. You're an extension of their team. And I think it's very important. I know we did a lot of this at Anthony's and we did this at Smoky Bones. We did it at 2J's. Try to find something that your top client, your most loyal customers can connect with. I know when we were at Anthony's, everybody loved our sauce. We didn't sell our sauce. We did our top, I think it was 1,000 guests, sample jars of sauce. It was such a hit. People wanted to buy our sauce after that, but no, it was something very special for our most loyal guests that we did. When we were at TJ's, we were known for our black and white cookie, half black, half white. For our loyalist customers, we did Christmas cookie, half red, half green, and Hanukkah cookie, half blue, half white. And we gave those as thank you to our most loyal guests. So we really tried to find something that made an impact that was connected to the brand. You can do that at Smoky Bones. I know we sent out some barbecuing sets. So there really is an opportunity. This is for your top guests to really say thank you. Again, this professional path. We talk a little bit about the personal path. You might have connected with somebody that you don't want to just send them a generic thank you, right? You really want to thank them for their one-on-one partnership. And I mean, that can be something related to the restaurant that you run, or more importantly, find something that you connected with this person on. If they're a Dallas fan, maybe you send them something sports related, right? If they do arts and crafts, try to really find something that says you care, because this is the message that you want to send at the end of 2025. They will appreciate it. You will stand out above your competitors, and it will set the tone really for 2026. We talk a little bit about.
I was just going to say, I had a client that was in oil and gas when I was in Baton Rouge many, many years ago. And their favorite candy bar was a Mr. Good bar. And so I went out and found one of those mega Mr. Good bars and hand delivered it. And I mean, I don't know if that was the direct reason we got another 40,000 in catering the next year. But the idea that you noticed, you recognized somewhere along the way, you discovered they like Mr. Good bar for whatever reason. It's those kinds of relationships that don't undervalue those, I guess is where I was going. Right. But that's a great, when you said that the sports team, that's a perfect idea as well.
Right. And remember, you just have to be 1% better than your competitor. And if you do that one thing that sets you apart, they will remember that and they will come back to you in 2026. Talking about setting the seed for 2026, we talk about not trying to hard sell in 2025. Some of maybe your clientele that is not a top loyal guest, you might want to offer them some kind of a discount if they, plan their catering and order their catering prior to, I don't know, December 15th, December 20th, whatever that looks like. But I do highly recommend that with all your orders that you do for catering over the holidays, you do include some type of a bounce back in January. We talked about January. It's a slow month. Give them a reason to come back. January 1st through the end of the month. Don't include Super Bowl, because that's going to be another big event that you're going to want to capitalize on. But give them some kind of a bounce back to bring them back and keep them coming back. We include here some other examples of personalized gifts, whether it be baskets or sweet treats. We talked about the theme, but these are just some examples that you can use as thought starters to really do something different for your clients at the end of the year.
And one of the things that I don't know if people have is budget. And that's one thing we really didn't put in here too much. But try to figure out what kind of budget you have, and then how many clients can you support on that budget? Because I think it's something is like, if you've got somebody that they order catering from you and their hair is constantly on fire because of their work situation, then a spa day or a gift certificate for a massage at a local spa salon would be a great idea. What I'm saying is it's understanding what those top clients are. And then for those new ones, those emerging clients that just maybe did an order or two with you, then you can get a little bit less personal, but still make an impactful gift. So what's your budget? I don't know. I mean, Danielle, how did y'all, I know you said y'all did bottles for your top 1,000 and whatever, but was that more at a corporate level, right?
Yeah, that was at a corporate level, but it's not always about the money either. I mean, some brands carry their own barbecue sauce. Give out some bottles of that. Give out some free salad dressing. They jar and bottle some of their own goods. You can give that too. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you're buying an Amazon gift card. Yeah. It's the thought that counts. And the more creative you can become, like with the 2J's cookies, we already made the cookies. We just changed out the dye color. It costs us nothing, right? To give away half a dozen cookies. So
Bart, did you have anything that you do specifically?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with everything. So I'm lucky I've got a Cinnabon as a brand as well.
That's a great gift.
I love texting all my customers throughout the month of December because there's so many of them. And so in addition to giving them a 2-pack of classics of Cinnabons, I also text them and send them, an invitation. Hey, I've got it. Like, we're doing a guest appreciation day tomorrow, actually. And we're doing a great offer. You get a 4-pack of Cinnabons and you get buy one, get one free entree for a full year. Those things are very valuable, $600. But some of my top customers, I've already given them that, saying, hey, here's a card. This is worth $600. Bring your family. It's something that, and the customers, like to have 6 kids. I sent them 2 cards. Then they can, they get their families fed for a full year. It costs, but boy, $29.99 for 2 cards, $60 for them to continue ordering $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, it's a no-brainer. But it's just the thought that counts. Let them know, hey, this is something for you and your kids. It goes such a long way, and it tells them you're listening to them throughout the
Right.
year. They have kids, with their husband, everything about them that you can for your big clients.
So I guess it depends on where each person that's listening is in their journey and where level you are. I know for us personally, we're going to probably take care of our top maybe 5 to 10% of our clients that are at certain levels, or we'll try to do something special for the holidays. But I also know me. I make everything kind of personal because I believe that's the crux of how this works, is that you should have some sort of a connection with folks. I know Bart's been with us 3 years. The reason he's been with us 3 years is because we value what he has to say, and he's somebody that's going to be a great ambassador for us in exchange. And so it's a great partnership. So wherever these partnerships are for you and your clients, I would say look through these ideas. Now, as far as communication style, because before we move on to the next one, Danielle, what do you think? Is this a phone call? Is this an email? Is it voicemail? Is it a text message?
Again, depending on your client. I mean, if it's a top client, I think it's a phone call. Anthony made phone calls to some of our top people, thanking them. If it's a mid-tier, it's something personal. If it's a lower, it could be an email. You have to really kind of look where they're in the cycle and use your best judgment.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Well, yeah. So one, we believe wholeheartedly this is important. Again, there's no one right way or wrong way to do any of this. It's all about what fits you and your needs. We just wanted to get you thinking about it a little bit and being able to segment those clients based on your relationship versus how much money they spend. Because you may have somebody that's not the largest. I mean, Bart's a 3-unit process for us. He spends the money. He's a loyal client. He's not obviously our top spender, but he's so very important to us. And so understanding that it's not about sometimes how much, but their value to you and your company, I think is important to remember as well. And so that's why we wanted to give you 2 paths on this. That's why we wanted to talk through some of this strategy behind it. I think sometimes it's understanding where the line is. And that's the last thing I wanted to talk about as well. Personal sometimes can venture into too personal, and you want to make sure you know where the line is. And it's about saying, "Hey, you're important to me. I hope you have a great holiday with your family, but don't overdo it. Don't go too far. Be wary of where the lines might be of professionalism." But I think there's a way, if you've got a professional relationship with some of your clients, to be able to have a semi-casual conversation about what they mean to you, and here's a gift to kind of acknowledge that. I think it's very more than fine, but it's just, again, it's like anything else. Use your best judgment. So, Danielle, anything else on this before we move?
No, that closes it. It's good. There's some good stuff there people can dig into.
Yeah, I love this piece. I think it's important. Communication. I love communication. Communication is my background, my major, and with interpersonal communication, those types of things. So I value that. I don't know if I value it because I went to college for it, or if I went to college for it because I already intrinsically valued it. But I just think communication is so valuable, and the quality of it can really go far if you do it right. So I want to get into evaluating and measuring your performance for 25. I'm sure everyone right now is either in hooray or this sucked mode, basically on how you did compared to goals. As I keep learning and keep slapping me in the face, is that as I talk to folks, and Danielle and I were talking about this earlier, is that you can do an amazing job and still not be recognized, and you can still lose your job over it. And it's the frustrating part of our industry. We have people that we know crush, and yet it's not either recognized or acknowledged. And what I wanted this section to be about was more about your story is more than just, did you hit the goal that somebody else gave you? Because you don't usually control your goals. A lot of times they're handed to you. We were joking earlier when we had a little test session to kind of run through this before we started this morning, that had to do with I got to be careful how I choose my words here. Brands sometimes want you to do 10% of sales, but only give you 1% resources. And those don't go together. They don't match. In other words, we don't want to give you too many resources. We don't want to apply too many layers of support, but we do have expectations that you get here. And it's hard to get here if you don't have those other pieces. And so I'm very conscious of that. Part of the reason we started NCC was to be able to provide those resources at an affordable price to be able to do that. And it still frustrates me to this day that the desire, the expectation, the drive to grow catering is there. It's prominent. I mean, I hear from CEOs, COOs, SVs of marketing, VPs of marketing every day that say, we want to grow catering. We're ready to grow catering. And I think, Bart, I think you said it earlier. I think sometimes you want to grow it, but maybe your heart's not in it, or you're not really going to put the resources behind it. I don't know if you want to go there with me.
It is hard. And, you know, spending money is hard. Spending money when you don't have a guarantee that the result's going to be what you want it to be. Maybe you don't even know what it's supposed to be, but it's hard on faith that's why you got to know. You got to know catering. You got to know how hard it is. You got to know, like with NCC or whomever you're using for getting more. It's not just you put something in, you get, it's like a slot machine. Sometimes it doesn't pay off for like, $500 or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, but then you get that big one. And then people are so used to immediate gratification. And with catering, it's working your butt off every day. And you get it or you don't get it. But boy, when you start getting it and you start getting that momentum, man, it's like a train. And then I just got this really good customer at a hospital, and they were doing like 6 months of catering. And I go out of my way for everybody. I went extra out of the way for this person. And not unbeknownst to me, they had some people in that were catering experts that they catered for other parts of the hospital. And I've been getting these catering orders for the last 3 weeks now from like 2 different people, 100 here, 100 there, 100 here. And it's like, 100, at $15, they're big orders. And so it's just trusting people to do what they do best. And that's why I think, to me, it's knowing what you do best and knowing what the people you work with, and let them do what they do best. And that's that, and it's no guarantee it's going to work that way.
It's true. And Danielle, I know I always hate putting people on the spot, but I'm very passionate about that. I like, we talk to brands all the time, and it's like, yes, you want to grow those sales, but what are you investing in this as well? And I think when we start talking about how you did on the back end, that has to matter, on the front end. So sorry. Any thoughts before I get into this?
And I think when you talk about investing, it's not just money. Bart is a perfect example. He is invested. He's going to succeed one way or the other. And that's probably why he's the #1 catering franchise owner in the company. But when we talk about investing, it's not just money. It is time. It is thinking outside of the box. It is doing 1% more than your competitor is doing. That's what is going to go the extra mile and going to put money in your pocket long term.
Well, and the other thing I'm hearing too is he's got the marketing piece figured out as well, because he's using catering as his marketing device. In that, sure, I'm going to introduce myself to more. They're going to come in and have dinner with me. I'm going to recognize them over the counter. I'm going to ask them where they work. I'm going to make sure there's a menu in there, to-go bags. I mean, all of those little things, that cross-marketing piece of this.
Sure.
At Honey Baked many years ago, we had no sales team. It was me and 200 corporate stores and 200 franchise stores. And then we had some really talented GMs out there and some supportive district managers that really kind of made catering happen, right? And so FBCs were out there with their franchisees. And so we had to do things a lot of ways. And one of the things that we always pushed hard was cross-promotion. So every catering order gets a retail coupon, and only catering coupons in the restaurant. Don't put a coupon for your restaurant in the restaurant. They're already there. They're a fan. There's no reason to market them. So understanding that. Sorry for getting on a tangent. But the idea behind all this is figuring out to tell your story. Where are you and how did you do? And maybe you did better than they think you did. And what we want to do is have you look at things a little bit different way to maybe help you articulate your story better. So the first thing I wanted to touch on is, where are you in your journey? This is another slide rule piece. Are you pre-launch or brand new? Are you in your first year? Are you in your second year? Are you in your third year and beyond? And we've got some pieces on what to look like there. If you are in your first year, you need to figure out how you're doing month to month. So this is not about an ROI play. In your first year, if anyone's pushing to figure out, did you pay for yourself? Of course you did. I mean, obviously you're building a program from scratch, from zero. You're not going to have a high ROI in your first year because you had no relationships when this thing started. So you have only had one teacher appreciation week. You've only had one back to school. You've only had one holiday season under your belt. The second year is where you can start to measure ROI and where you can start to evaluate growth and performance. But in that first year, you don't really have the wave effect as much. You should have more of a steady growth, meaning that regardless of what month you're starting at zero and you start getting more relationships established, you should start to see a natural growth trend month to month. When you get into your second year, it's going to really deal with more year over year comparisons. You're going to start to see natural dips in July start to happen. You're going to see a natural dip in January start to happen. And that's okay. That's how it works. That's the whole point of the catering wave, what we're going to touch on in a little bit. But it's understanding where you are in your journey and how you should evaluate whether you're growing or not. And then how do you compare to others in your market, others in your region, others in your brand. And then like Bart was touching on earlier, I want to know what Podbelly is doing. I want to know what Jason's Deli is doing. I want to know what some of these other things are doing to be able to compare how you're doing. Once you get into your second year, it's more about comparing to yourself, but and showing consistent growth trends. So evaluating your growth status. Are you in heavy growth mode? Are you in steady growth mode? Are you stagnant and flat? Are you in decline? Wherever you are in this determines on how you performed. If you took over a location in decline and you are now stagnant, that's a positive. That means you took a negative trend and you've stopped it. And then you want to grow from there. So getting people to understand that, okay, last year they were down 10%. That doesn't naturally mean you're going to be up 10% to offset it the next year. You have to stop the negative trend to balance it out, and then you grow. And so understanding what you inherited also helps to tell your story. So if you're in heavy growth mode, you're probably a relatively new location, or you took over a situation that was negative, you stabilized it, and then you took off. So understanding the story behind where you are in your growth says a lot. So understand that. Make sure that's in any kind of summary or report or note taking that you have to do to say, listen, we are only 7% year over year. The reason we're only 7% higher versus the rest of the year where we were trending in double figures was because the year prior, we had an unexpected $4,000 catering order. So that didn't return this year because it was a one-time event. Understanding those things helps you to articulate your story better. Benchmark yourself against others in similar in your trade area. If you have another one in your city with you, if you have others in your district, maybe others across the region are in the brand that are in similar situations. Are you in a college town? Are you in a smaller rural market? Are you a location right off of an interstate versus one in a downtown market? It's understanding all of those are going to be very important. So, Bart, I see you're still with me. It looks like we lost Danielle and Abbie.
Yeah.
All right. No, I'm here.
You're here? Okay, you just off camera? Okay, got it. No worries. I just couldn't see everybody. Wanted to make sure. All good. And then a couple of things we wanted to touch on real quick. Client retention. To me, if you get into your second year, an 80% goal for client retention is very important. Clients, especially if you're heavy on third party, the opportunities for you to recover those are even more challenging. But ideally, you want to retain 80% of your clients, not necessarily 80% of your orders, but 80% of the people that order with you. If you're losing more than 20% year over year, you are probably going to struggle. You're probably going to be in a bit of a negative decline because it's hard to grow when you're constantly having to inherit kind of build out new business. So the goal for there is to try to maintain 80%. What is your month over month performance for first year? There's a grid here that kind of shows you on the site. You'll be able to kind of see where you are when you started. It's not so much a matter what month you started in the first 12 months. It's more about, are you showing monthly progression? Obviously, it's going to be easier if you start in January to show that over the course of the year versus if you start in August where you might have missed back to school. But ideally, you should show steady growth in your first 12 months. And then when you get into year-over-year performance, start evaluating, start to notice where the growth is and where the dips are. You should probably look for at least 40 to 60% year-over-year growth in your second year for most. Again, these are generic numbers that apply to most, not everyone. And then in your third year, you still want to stay in double-digit growth, hopefully in the 15 to 25% range. Start looking at your dollar trends on a weekly basis. I know Bart said he tracks everything weekly when we were touching this earlier. So if you're seeing any dip or adjustment, what you want to do is when you start to see 2 or 3 successive weeks of negative is where you want to grab your attention a little bit. Bart, how do you look? You said you look at everything on a weekly basis.
Yep, I do. So, we do a lot of EasyCater. EasyCater makes it easy for you to see your stats. You can see year over year, week over week, food sales, total order count, and then your average dollar size for your orders. And so that really gives it an immediate idea of what's going on, a picture of what's going on that week. And so it's real easy to see what's going on. And I like looking at it every week, but I also do that for my first party orders as well. To me, like you said, I keep good track of what we did last year the same week. So we had a $4,000 breakfast order. So we're going to be down a little bit. But if I keep track of what's going on with the average order size, that kind of tells me, okay, we're on track for that. Orders are still going up, not going down. Average count still going up, not going down.
Okay. So, and then for EasyCater, that helps. For non-EasyCater, you're going to need to have a good tracking method within your restaurant. So sometimes an Excel sheet will work just fine, but just something to track your orders. And don't let them pile up. It's like any kind of work. If you don't try to do it on a daily or weekly basis, next thing you know, you have 8 weeks worth of orders and you just don't do them. And then you lose all your history. And your POS may be able to give you some of that data if it's well done and it's sectioned by category like catering, et cetera, where you can pull reporting. That's great. If you don't have those means to be able to do that, please find some means to track your orders as they come through. And it'll also help you going into next year when you try to recover business. If you're like, hey, last year you had this order, is that coming back again this year? So it'll give you a chance to do some of that. Average order size. Yep, go ahead.
We use MSI is a good, you can track it same day last year. So that's a good tracking mechanism as well, MSI. We also keep a Excel spreadsheet of our sales stuff too, but also Pulse. If people out there use Pulse, that also can give you an idea real quick of your catering this day versus last year, this week versus last year.
What is Pulse? Tell us a little bit what that is.
It's just it's an app that brings up so you can look at your sales, track them by day, by week, by year, by category, catering, walk-in, drive-through, and then within each category, it breaks down even further.
Okay. If anyone has any questions about that, you'd like to learn more, obviously I'd go online and look at it, but we can always connect you to Bart on the back end.
Of course.
Somebody that's out there.
And one of the things we always did is obviously on our marketing calendar at the very top, we had week over week sales. So year over year, 2024 versus 2025 versus 2026. And we also had a category for what we call miscellaneous. Was there a hurricane? Was one of the restaurants shut down for health inspection? Did we have a huge order that we won't necessarily count on? So we had it tracking right there on that marketing calendar so that we saw week over week when we looked in 2020, look in 2026, what happened. So always good to keep it all in one place together so you don't have to go back and try to dig everything back up.
So Amber had a question here. Can you do a 30, 60, 90-day drop off? I'm not 100% sure I understand the question. Anybody understand that or Amber, if you could maybe explain that a little better, we're happy to answer that for you. Well, you're talking about if you start to see where do you start to make some adjustments? Is it at 30, 60, or 90 days? I just want to make sure I understand that question. We'll keep going, but come back to it in just a minute. The last 2 things I wanted to touch on is order origination metrics, where your order's coming from. If you can start to manage that, where are you getting referrals? Are you getting people finding you online? Is it coming from third party? Is it an email marketing campaign, social media? You have a sales rep, wherever that might be. To be able to track where your benefits are coming from, I think is very important. So where do your order origination metrics, when you're starting to build out your report, being able to break down, if you can, where your orders came from. And then if you can find ways to determine how many of those were repeat orders, how many of those are ordered multiple times once you secure them the first way. Because the first order, they may come through a referral, and then every order after that may just be going directly to your website and placing orders. So it's hard to be able to follow the history of that client. I think is going to be very important. And then how are people placing the orders, which kind of goes in hand with that. So you have online, calling the store, a sales rep, marketplace, call center. Maybe there's another way for people to reach out. Will we be able to share this deck after the webinar? You bet. If you registered and you're here, I will send this out post. So you'll have the recording and you'll have the content. We'll make sure we send all of that out after. So the last thing as far as order placement metrics, keep your third-party metric under 30%. I don't know, Bart, what is yours? Where are you guys on ezCater as a percentage of sales?
With catering, ezCater is about 55%. It varies, but it's about 45-55, sometimes 50-50 with first party versus ezCater.
Okay. That's a really important metric that we always looked at, first party versus marketplace. And every year we try to decrease the marketplace more on first party versus marketplace, because obviously you're giving away more dollars on marketplace. So under 30% is pretty good if we could keep it under there for marketplace.
So Amber, if going back to your question, you have the metrics on customer sales and their orders over 30, 90 days, if their sales are declining, retention purposes. So I think you're talking about more like, are they going into lapsed mode, meaning that they ordered with some frequency? I think it depends on what type of client they are. If it's a seasonal client that only orders for back to school or teacher week, obviously if they roll off 30, 60, or 90 days, we're not going to panic because they don't really have a need. If it's clients that are repeat, I think it varies by brand. We actually used to have ours was 6 months at Honey Baked. If they didn't order for 6 months, then we made a really solid effort to go out. But at a local restaurant level, I think a lot of times your owners or your general managers that go, hey, I'm used to this person ordering, and it goes quiet. Sometimes that can be as low as 6 weeks, I think, before you would start to want to check in if your point of contact changed or something along like those lines. One of the things that I wanted to touch on is the general managers that are out there, or the owners that enjoy this part of the business will grow. I've never seen it not work. If you're passionate about catering and you are focused on it, it becomes part of your focus, you're going to be successful. It might take longer based on limited skills or limited resources, but I've never seen someone who is really all 100% into it at the restaurant level not be successful if they wanted to be. And that's the joy of catering, I think, more than anything. The one thing I wanted to touch on here, we touched on it a little bit earlier, is understanding the B2B2C component here. And you, as part of telling your story, how can you articulate what the impact is at the restaurant level from an introduction of product or et cetera? I know that for years ago, we had a 40% number. Bart, I think you told me earlier, what was ezCater saying now that first-time catering orders?
Closer to 60%. First time that they've actually experienced the restaurant is at a catering order.
So 60% of first-time catering buyers will have not tried your product before that meal. And so the ability to understand how catering and consumer reach, I think, helps tell the story. So I would always encourage you that if you know how many first-time catering orders you received or you generated as a salesperson, there's a couple of things to consider here. One, what's the impact that it had on the restaurant as far as introduction and marketing, the marketing value? And then the second part of it is, what's the lifetime value of that new client? And you should get credit for it.
Yeah. Statistics will tell you that catering will typically generate a 47% halo effect, meaning somebody tries you in catering, 40% of them will go in the restaurant and have a dine-in experience. So that's your average halo effect that you're getting from catering. So
and then the last thing,
about that cross marketing.
The last note I had heard too was, once you capture an order for the first time, the life expectancy is a little bit shy of 3 years for a catering buyer. So they'll stay with you usually almost up to 3 years. I'm sure I know there's scenarios out there where people stay longer, but if somebody orders 6 times a year and you have a 3-year lifespan, that first catering client can, in theory, turn into 18 more. So now you're talking about of an average order size of $400 to $450. Now that first order is going to generate $7,000, $8,000 in lifetime value or more on average. So understanding, being able to share with the powers that be how many new business partners you generated this year, and that the ability for that to impact your restaurant. Listen, I don't know if it's ever going to make the final story better. I don't know if they're going to look back at you and go, hey, you know what? You're right. I thought you hadn't done well and you did amazing. I don't know if it'll do that, but I think you deserve to have your whole story told. And what I want you to do when you're filling out reports or you're sending information to the powers that be in your organization, dig in a little deeper if you can find time to talk about how many first-time clients you had, what the life expectancy of this one might be. Maybe they've already generated a second or third order, and this is what you see upside. Because I think if you're going to go through the hustle and do all that, I think your whole story needs to be told. That's just my 2 cents on that. Tired of hearing stories about people saying that they just didn't hit a certain number and that's all that mattered. And I just don't believe that's the right way to do things, but so be it. All right, let's get into the final piece here for the last 10 minutes or so. We want to do the introduction to the Catering Wave. This is where we're going for our first 6 months next year. And I love this tool. I think it's an amazing way to look at catering sales. I don't know if you'll convince the powers that be that this is the way to do it, but I've seen it. I did it firsthand. I've seen other people employ it. And remember, catering sales is not about selling all year long. It's about understanding what each and every month gives you and how to approach the sales activities you need to do based on where you are on the calendar. So the first thing I want to touch on real quick is a listening window. So every business out there has a listening window, meaning that if you called them, if they're outside of their listening window, they're less likely to respond and want to participate in the conversation. So at NCC, one of the things that we teach and train our folks is we call folks in their listening window. So if you are a PTO president, and we know that PTO presidents are usually somewhat responsible for Teacher Appreciation Week activities, then I need to know what's the listening window for Teacher Appreciation Week where I'm not going to be too early and I'm not going to be too late. So where is it? If you can find the listening window for every opportunity all across the calendar, then you have a natural schedule that starts to emerge on when you should do each activities and what type of activity should you do at that time. And I think understanding how this works is huge. So understanding your listening window so you know when to reach out. Traditionally, 6 to 8 weeks ahead of the opportunity is where you want to be. If you're only a few weeks out, a lot of times you're too late. They're already in conversations with other brands. They've already made their buying decision. Something's already taken place. If you're more than 10 weeks out, 12 weeks out, they're not ready to think about it yet. It's a priority low for them. It's a priority high for you, but it's a priority low for them. So understanding when to reach out based on the event. I have people still calling us right now asking if it's too late to go after holiday catering. It really kind of is right now. I know everybody wants to, but what happens is you get caught up in all of these other activities. I'm sure Black Friday has really kind of absorbed a lot of time for a lot of brands. And now you're going, well, wait a minute, I haven't really done anything with holiday parties. Well, it's a kind of late now. And so it's understanding that you can do both. You can have Black Friday, you can have holiday parties, you can do tax season, you can do all of these. It's just a matter of knowing what type of outreach to do and when. And that's one of the things that we were going to talk about when we roll out the Catering Wave webinar series. So here's a good example. Early May is when the event is for Teacher Week. The best listening window is going to be mid-March through the end of April. Right? As far as that's the window that they're going to be listening, but you want to be toward the front end of that. And then your goal is to call schools and get on their radar. So we use valid business reason selling. So VBR, that's if you've heard us with calls before, that's something we really talk about. It's knowing what your VBR is. And what a VBR is what is the event, what's the industry, and then what's the window to reach out to them. So when you're reaching out for a whatever VBR that we're going to be talking through, we're not asking if they cater. So we're not going to make a phone call to a PTO, a school and a PTO president and say, "Hi, my name is Byron. I'm with ABC Restaurants. Do you guys ever feed your staff?" No. That's like calling a car dealer and saying, "Hi, do you ever feed your staff?" No. You call the car dealer and you say, "I want to get into your Saturday rotation. I want to call a school and say, I want to be an option for you for teacher week. I want to be an option for back to school. I want to be an option all year long." But I'm not going to ask if they cater. We already assume they do. So why ask them? So go right to the punch, but you need to go to the punch in the window that makes the most sense. And that's really the whole NCC model, to be honest with you. So ride the wave. There's 3 parts of the wave. There's the selling part of the wave, the support part of the wave, which is your relationship building, customer service type thing, and then your preparation part of the wave, which is your planning, your research, your list building parts. And so every month has a different part. So let's talk about the anatomy of a wave. So you have a crest of the wave, which is the top. Then you have a trough, which is the bottom. January is in the trough. Appreciation season in early May is in the crest. And it's understanding the difference in the wave that determines where you want to focus. So your crest is your peaks. So think November and December. We're right in the peak of catering year round. We are in the ultimate crest for the entire year. And then you have the other areas as well. So as we look at the calendar, this is one I'm kind of proud of. I love AI. AI helped me build this out. But you have a January through December sales wave. You'll see that we've added these little buoys or spikes here called appreciation season, back to school, Black Friday, holiday, right? And then you can look for month to month. So January, most restaurants, these are general numbers. They may be different for you, but catering is about 3% of sales in January. In March, it climbs to 6. In May, it's up to 11. In June and July, it goes back down to 5 and 6, all the way up to 15% in December, 13% in November. So it's understanding where your sales are and then understanding what type of activities to do for each. So we've got it listed here. January, planning and research. February, it starts off with planning and research at the beginning and you move into outreach. March is pure outreach and follow-up. April, hard selling. May, you're not hard selling once you get into May because you're now fulfilling, you're executing, you're closing orders. So now you're back into support mode and your customer service and direct interactions with folks. And then you come back into June and you go right back into planning mode for back to school season. And so you see this wave all year long. There's no reason to hard sell in January. There's nothing to buy. It's about using that time in January and early February to max out April and May. There's so many folks that hit Teacher Appreciation Week every year, and they touch a little bit on Nurses Appreciation. But guess what also happens that exact same week? Construction Safety Week is the exact same week as Teacher Week. Lawyer Wellbeing Week is in that same time. Public Service Workers Week. There's a bunch. May's crazy. There's too much in there. But the goal is no one ever gets past the first one or the second one. And then there's all this low-hanging fruit that nobody's touching. And so if you want to know where to be successful, it's to capitalize on those areas that your competitors are not. And I think Danielle said earlier, the 1% more than what everybody else is doing. And maybe you hit the schools, you hit those, but because you use January and February so effectively, you now have lists, you know people to reach out to instead of scrambling the third week of April going, I haven't started Teacher Week yet. And that tends to happen when you're constantly hard selling and hustling for the 9-person order from the spa salon or the nail place versus really using that time effectively to max out. I want to do, if you did 7 schools this year, your goal should be to do 25 next year, whatever that might be. And so using the concept of the catering wave. So we're gonna spend 6 months on mastering the catering wave. We're going to talk about January and February in January, then we're going to do March and April together in the second month. And by the end of the 6 months, we're going to have the whole year kind of ironed out, and we're going to break it into details. And then at the bottom here, I just added the catering calendar. That's kind of the piece to this here. But I want to I don't think I'm going to be able to now because this is the public version. We only do 12 weeks ahead. But if you start to look at even events in December, you may not have realized on December 12th is National Salesperson Day. So our folks are already hitting the car dealers. We're already hitting the furniture stores. We're hitting some of these places that have large sales teams to see if they're doing something special for those. So understanding how to use the calendar. Again, our calendar is free. Everybody has access to it. We're always showing 12 weeks ahead. Danielle, I'm going to let you touch a little bit on how to grow sales in 26 real quick. I know this is something we're going to cover in more depth as we go, but I wanted to let everybody know it's here. It's part of the preparation phase as well.
As critically important it is in December to say thank you. January is the time that you can breathe. It's not a hardcore selling month. And I think it's really important that you take stock of not only the numbers, but refresh your website, refresh your marketing materials. Take a minute to regroup and say, what did we add to our program over the year that can make things better? And make sure you take the time to refresh your information, your data, your photography. It shows clients that you've got something going on, something new going on, and they get excited about, hey, what are these guys going to bring to the table next? Bart made an excellent point earlier when we were talking. Check out what your competition is doing. It is important to know, what are their pricing? What are they offering? I think it's really important to look at the different boxes and packaging and buffet styles that you're putting out there. What sold the most? What sold the least? Do you want to take things off of your menu? Do you want to add some certain, were people always ordering a sandwich and a Coke and maybe make a bundle? So I think it's critically important that you step back in January, take stock of what you got, and figure out ways that you can make it better for the coming year.
So, Bart, I have one thing I wanted to say real quick, and then I'd love you to comment on it as well. As part of a large organization, you have limited control over what you can bundle or price point or things like that. But what are some things that you can do as part of a national brand at a local level to Danielle's point, to try something different, to try some other way to stimulate sales?
Well, for me, and all those are great points. It's something I did that was the best thing I did a couple years ago was we use a lot of ezCater, and ezCater is expensive, but ezCater delivers. As far as delivering people and customers, you need to become an ezCater expert. And so one thing that corporate has done at Schlotzsky's Go-To Foods is they brought on some ezCater experts that you can talk to, and I've formed relationships with them. But it's time to, you think about increasing sales, but sometimes when I tell a lot of franchisees, first, do you know your prices compared to your competitors? Because a lot of times you just figure whatever the price is in my menu on my website, that's got to be the correct prices, right? But then when you start looking at the Jason's Delis, the Potbellies, the Paneras, maybe they're 10% higher. You could raise your price if you feel like you're as good as they are, which I think we all are when you put what we put into it. You could raise price in January. You could lower your fees with ezCater. ezCater has a lot of fees. The more you know about how to be a reliability rock star, how to use PPP, how to use ezCater rewards, and make sure you're minimizing your fees, but you're maximizing your exposure to your customers. That is a hard thing to do, and most people don't realize it until you start. Your delivery fee, for example. I know a lot of people, they're just doing a $15 delivery fee. When you start looking at your competitors, they're 30, 35, and then at a $300 minimum, they go up another 10% up to $100. If you're charging 15 or 20 and you could be getting 50 or 100, I track that so closely. And it could be, like for us, it was an extra $40,000 this year by going from a delivery fee that we had to a delivery fee that we are now. It's being aware of your competitors' prices, your prices, how they are in the market, and little changes can make a big difference. Like you're talking about when people, what did you do this past year? Well, if you're a franchisee or if you're somebody that has a lot of franchisees, what's your reliability rockstar status? How many months did you continue your reliability rockstar? You can control that at a franchisee level. It's just the little things that in January I spend ad nauseum trying to figure out exactly, am I in the right spot? Can I raise price? Do I know what ezCater is doing? How can I improve my fee structure going down, but my exposure to my customers going up?
Well, one thing I wanted to ask real quick, and then we'll say our goodbyes here real quick, is at Honey Baked years ago, we had a food cost calculator, and we used that religiously when we were trying to figure out catering orders. So if, for example, if you knew that you were putting together a sandwich and your cost on that sandwich was going to be $3.50, then you knew what your margins were to be able to discount appropriately. And I think a lot of times there's folks out there that kind of go, I don't know, I don't discount, right? I can't go down, or I don't discount. And you're sitting there going, and you got a school going, yeah, but if you're saying I won't budge below $10, and the school's going, yeah, but I have a budget of $9.50, and you're willing to throw that order away be over 50 cents a box when you could still make decent margin, and you're introducing your product to 200 new teachers that maybe haven't tried you before. So it's understanding all of that. Do you guys have a tool at Schlotzsky's that helps you do a margin calculator?
It's awesome. So it's the pricing tool, but it not only tells you what your cost of goods are for your catering, for your walk-in, but it compares you, it pulls in data from your competitors, the Paneras, the Potbellies, and the Jasons. Those are the big three that we compare ourselves to. It brings in your competitors' pricing. And now that I always check it too, because, the people that are pulling those prices in, they've got a job like all of us, and it's not as important to them as it is to me. So I verify those prices. But yeah, you can look at, so like your great example is the schools. The schools have a $9.50 budget, and I'm at $10. There's no way I'm going to let them go for 50 cents. But what I can do is I can move you to a small original or a small smoked turkey, a ham and cheese, not as expensive as the roast beef or the chicken. So yeah, when you know what your cost of goods are, you can make an instant decision. Oh, I got it. And here's what we can offer you: a pepperoni pizza instead of a supreme pizza. Yeah, that's a great tool. And I use that a ton.
Well, and we used to have hearty sandwiches. I would do a full sandwich, cut it in half, and next thing you know, you've got a $5 box lunch,
exactly.
If you need to for whatever reason. So, all right, well, very cool.
The schools, people have a budget, and it's amazing when you look at, and I'll just say Jason's Deli. I see what they provide. If you know that they're providing a half a sandwich with 2.5 ounces of meat, and I've got an original with 4.5 ounces of meat, okay, it's not apples to apples. So we can make some adjustments to get the same and beat that cost or get lower.
Yep, fair enough. All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much, everybody, for attending. And I know some of you have hung with us all the way through. I appreciate that. Wanted to take a minute real quick and just wish everyone a happy holiday season. I know we get caught up in the day-to-day at this time of the year, and unfortunately, this is also the time of the year where businesses make tough decisions as well. I hope you find yourself where you want to be. I hope you've had a wonderful year. Just know that you got friends out in the community that can help and are a great resource for you. One of the reasons I'm so glad we had Bart on here is he always says yes, no matter what we ask. He's always willing to talk to someone and give them advice. I know Danielle's got that same place. I don't want to speak for you, Danielle, but anything that you want to add here real quick as we kind of wish everybody bye?
No, just cheers to a prosperous 2026.
Yeah, I think we should all keep our fingers crossed that whatever is going crazy in the world will calm down a little bit and we'll all find our way. But I just want to say thank you. We're always here. I know I put Abbie's information at the bottom here. If you have any questions, you want to reach out. She's really good about being able to kind of support and help you if you have any questions. But if you'll reach out to her, she'll connect you to the right person if you do. So Abbie at the nccgroup.com. You can always reach out to me at Byron at the NCC Group. Danielle's bio is up there as well. And if you want to get a hold of Bart, we don't want to publish your email address. But if anybody wants to reach out, I'll make sure we connect them to you. But thank you, Bart, for being on the call. I appreciate it. Abbie, thank you as always. Thank you, Danielle, for being a wonderful partner in 26. I'm so looking.
Thank you for having me.
25. I'm so looking forward to what we do next year.
2026.
Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful holiday. And if you need anything at all, just reach out.
Yep.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.